Hi, I'm Jeff Bermet, and along with Nick Davis, we are the managers of the Libero Cautious, Dynamic, and Solutions portfolios. We're taping this video on the 27th of March. It is not the end of the month, but gosh, it feels like the end of the month. And since the war began in Iran on February 28th, it has been a very challenging market for really everything. Equities have sold off broadly with the exception of energy-related stocks, and thankfully we do have some of those in the portfolio, and we've added some more over the first week of this month, so that's helped a little bit. But really, everything else has sold off. Compounding that has been the reaction in fixed income. You've seen bond yields rise, and in the case of like the UK, the yield on two-year gilts has risen 100 basis points since the beginning of the month. And the logic or the way the market is thinking about that is this energy shock is going to be inflationary, and the central banks will have to respond by raising rates. We don't think that's correct. We think that central banks usually tend to try and look through an energy shock and will not raise rates until there's a point where the secondary effects of higher energy prices that flow through to transportation and then to products that are transported and to everything else in the economy, if that seems to be gaining momentum, and if there is a change in inflation expectations, that's when the central banks will feel compelled to act. We're only 4 weeks into this energy shock, and the central banks all met, not all of them, but a great many of them, the UK, the US, the ECB, and they all said the same thing. It is far too early to tell what the long-term ramifications of this energy shock will be. And we are obviously prepared to do whatever we need to do, but we're not going to do anything right now. How does this crisis end? And we know that the US and Iran have been negotiating. And I think Trump was hoping that by taking out the senior leadership in Iran, he might cause a regime change and he could work out some agreement with Iran where they wouldn't have nuclear weapons and they'll leave the Straits of Hormuz open. But right now the Straits of Hormuz are impassable. Iran has enough drones and missiles, apparently, despite being bombed for a month by Israel and the US, to threaten any ships that go through there. So this has taken about 10 to 15 million barrels of oil a day out of the world energy market. And that's what's resulted in energy prices spiking. And until that is resolved, until those straits are navigable by ships carrying oil, we're going to have a problem in the energy markets. And the markets are not going to be happy until there is some resolution. And we just yet don't know what that resolution is going to look like. The flip side is Trump has now sent close to 10,000 US ground troops into the region. He's threatening to send more. There is a sense of this conflict could get larger if the US attempts to seize some of Iran's oil assets, in particular Karg Island, where Iran loads most of its oil onto ships that are still passing through the Straits of Hormuz and going to China and India. But we could see some sort of ceasefire happen where Iran promises to let certain ships go through. Maybe ships have to pay a toll. So it would relieve a lot of the pressure in the energy markets, but not all the pressure. We're not going back to that $60 to $70 barrel in oil that we experienced in the fourth quarter of last year. We would be happy to see 80 to 100 as the new range in energy, and the world can adjust to that, and sectors that we like, such as technology and AI, or mining and the need for copper and greater electrification in the world, those things will continue. Defense spending is definitely going to continue as Europe continues to focus on growing their defense. So we think that theme in the portfolio will also continue to perform. But we need the Straits of Hormuz open in some fashion before we get a real sense of stability in the markets. And people have to realize that this will pass at some point. This war will end. The world will adjust to higher energy prices if that is the result. It's just that can be a very bumpy path and may take longer than one would hope.